So I made something called Conway's Game of Life in Roblox. Basically, it is a cellular automata or a zero-player game that is made to simulate life. And it works by using 3 rules. 1, if a cell has 1 or 0 live cells near it, it dies in the next generation. If it has 2 to 3 cells live near it, then it lives on. And if it has 4 or more, it dies. An easy way to show this would be generating here. So if we go and if I go here and I get rid of this and this, then do that, and it changed the pattern of this accordingly. This is a special pattern called a glider that every 4 generations it repeats back down to this next generation. I forgot to mention, if a cell has exactly 3 live neighbors, it comes alive in the next generation. So if we look at this, we can notice that this cell here might help if I did allow you to see my mouse. There we go. So if we analyze this, we'll see that this cell here has exactly 3 live neighbors. So in the next generation, this cell will be live. Then we have this cell here, exactly 3 live neighbors. It will come alive. This cell will stay, this cell will die, this one will die, and this one will stay. So if we look, changed accordingly. And we repeat this 4 times, and we get back to the same pattern. And now, if we run this, it will run the generation. It will run it 40 times, or 40 generations. And this will repeat infinitely until something stops it. And what I can do is I can generate another glider. And then, instead of 40 generations, I can run it for 4. Then I can add another, and you'll see that we now have a messed up glider. So if we go and run this, you'll see it changes into some weird patterns. And now we have a pattern that will, now we have a unique pattern that will stay in this shape eternally until something comes along and interrupts it. For which we got this. Now if we zoom out, we do this. It goes and it changes and lives, quote unquote, life. And it does this for 40 generations until eventually you get something like this. There are many ways you can type different board states with this board size I have here, which is 100 by 100, meaning there are 10,000 grid spaces right here. And that's one I've made recently. Yeah, of course I plan on making a way that players can generate their own custom board sizes, and so on and so forth. So if I set this to 100, go up here, and I do this, we can just run this and watch as it lives on life. Then I can come in at any time and add a new glider and get some unique effects. So if I run this every generation, we now have something weird going on here. And you notice that this glider that was once here is now up here, as these are basically like repeating borders, so that way this one can live on infinitely, and you can't have cells on like the corner cell down here that after it becomes live, if it immediately dies, or if every cell around it becomes live, it then goes on and dies, either etc. It's just so you can't have a perpetual board state. Got actually some unique effects over here. So you'll notice that alright, so you'll notice that this is repeating infinitely like this. And this will repeat on infinitely unless I'm gonna wait for the generation to stop running. It shouldn't be long now. There we go. Now, if we go here, or we can find out what row it is. Then we just click and we drag. This is going to be tile 54. If we go and we make this cell live, and then we generate generations, it goes into a pattern that will eventually go out and die. And this can be done in, you can set up several board states, each several starting positions, and this is also considered a 0-player game, meaning after the initial game conditions are set, such as any player coming along and on the tiles over here, building a glider, and then running this game state, the board will then take the entire state and run on infinitely. And then the player can go in, the quote-unquote player or observer can go in and make minor adjustments to see, how it reacts. Next, and you can use things like virus outbreaks or something to and any observers coming in and like changing something up, like how while I was running the state here, how every now and then I was adding a glider setup in there. You could say that's like some virus outbreak, or some catastrophic event like a volcano going off, a meteor hitting the planet, and that can be a rough simulation of that. The rules for coding the rules is actually pretty simple. It's just you have to make sure you have everything set up for it so you can ensure it works properly. And that is what is Conway's Game of Life in a engine that is not made to run complex stuff. I did this purely for fun and because I had nothing else to do. So yeah, that's what I've been working on as of recently.